So I'm going to tell you about my birthing experience. It's 7 years ago I had my first child. When I first found out I was pregnant, me and my husband were both excited and nervous. We weren't sure if the baby was going to be deaf or hearing. Because of my whole family, well, they're deaf. My sisters, my mum, my dad. But me and my brother, my husband and his brother were the only ones that were deaf in his family, so we weren't sure if this baby would be deaf or not. So for the first 4 months, I was just going to my GP for checkups, and they would check and listen to the baby's heartbeat. We didn't have an interpreter, just communicate. She was a very helpful woman. We communicated with paper and notes, and it was fine. She'd tell me what to eat and things like that, and also she measured my bump. And then at 20 weeks. We went to the hospital, New Cross Hospital in Wolverhampton, and that was for our 20-week scan. They checked everything and checked with a scan, asked if we wanted to know if it was a boy or a girl, and we agreed no. No, we wanted a surprise. I think secretly I kind of wanted a girl. I don't know why. Anyway, at the 20-week scan, they checked everything was fine, and pregnancy progressed normally. Then at 35 weeks, just at a routine appointment, they measured my bump. They weren't sure, but they thought the baby seemed to have grown an awful lot from the week before. So they wanted to send us back to New Cross, just to have another scan and check everything was okay. I mean, the baby was fine, and there was nothing to worry about. I think there was been a bit of a communication breakdown. So when we were there, the scan, they did the scan, and at the 20-week scan, you could see everything, full picture. You could see the baby moving around. Then at 30 weeks or 36 weeks, when we did the scan, you could barely see anything, just random body parts. I think I preferred the 20-week scan when you could see the full picture, the full shape of the baby, with its head and the shape of its nose. But it was fine, it was interesting anyway. And they gave me a due date of the 6th of November 2009. I mean, obviously it was possible the baby could have been born late or early, and no one ever really knows. So the pregnancy carried on, and then on the 4th of November, my waters broke. I couldn't believe it. We had two friends visiting us, and they'd come to visit us. And I was in a panic, and I hid in the bathroom, to be honest, until they left. My husband, well, he contacted the hospital to let them know what happened. And then they also wanted to know what to do next, because obviously it was our first baby, neither of us really knew what to do. So they wanted to know about, if I'd had any contractions and how long they were. And they said at the moment I wasn't far along enough to come in, just to stay at home. After 4 hours, nothing had happened, so we phoned the hospital. I packed a bag and went to the hospital for them to check. They checked me over and said, no, you're not far along enough. Just go home and wait for labour to start and progress further. Didn't really want to go home, but I went home anyway. And through the night I was really uncomfortable. I was tossing and turning, I was in a lot of pain, I was pacing up and down. I remember my hair was in a ponytail. I remember that pulling at the back of my head as I was walking up and down and tossing around. So my husband phoned the hospital, so I didn't feel like I could cope any longer. So I went there and they checked me over. She checked my cervix. I couldn't believe it. I was only 1 centimetre dilated. I couldn't believe that. 12 hours labour and I was only 1 centimetre dilated. But I had to stay there this time. I wasn't allowed to go home, which made me quite nervous. I was quite painful. I was in quite a lot of pain. I mean, a midwife came and gave me something to help with the pain. She was very helpful and was looking after me. But then my contractions had ebbed off. So they put something in my cervix to try and make the contractions come faster. Oh, it was so painful. I was rocking around the bed. I was in so much pain. I didn't want to make it look easy. So the midwife came in and said, "Do you want an epidural?" I was like, yes, yes, I really wanted an epidural. By that point, I was in so much pain. It's a bit strange. You have to sit still. You're not allowed. You can't move around at all. So I sat there, bracing myself for this massive injection. And they listed through, the side effects like possible paralysis and getting headaches and things like that. There was quite a few. I can't remember what they were. I was just so nervous. I really wanted this injection. It was so much better after the epidural. Finally, after 20 hours of being in labour, I could relax a bit. I mean, I didn't have an interpreter, I was just relying on my husband, and bless him, he did such a good job considering all the commotion I was causing. And then every 4 hours, someone would come in and check my cervix, see if I'd dilated any further, and I couldn't believe it. Next time they checked, 4 hours later, I was only 2 centimetres dilated. I was getting quite impatient with the whole thing by now. I mean, it's taking forever. 25 hours in labour and I hadn't dilated. And after I'd had my epidural, of course, I couldn't walk around, so I had to just lie on the bed, read a book, have a conversation. The doctor came in, or maybe midwife, I'm not sure, about 35 hours later, about 35 hours after I'd been in labour, and looked at the baby's heartbeat and checked my charts. She felt my bump and everyone started talking to each other. Me and my husband had no idea what was going on, because if it's one-to-one, maybe we could just about understand, but when there's loads of people talking at once, we have no idea. So the doctor came back and checked my baby again, checked my bump again, and she explained that baby's head was stuck, and it just needed positioning into the correct position so it could go into the birth canal. And the only way they could do it, she'd have to put a hand into my cervix and just move the baby. Push it up and then move it so it could come down. Oh, it was horrible. I had my legs up in stirrups and had someone put their hand up into my vagina and try and move the baby. I mean, it took ages. I mean, I had to put my legs up and they'd come down. I had to be quite patient with the whole thing. But then they started to get worried about the baby's heartbeat and said I needed to have a caesarean. I've been in labour for 45 hours by this point, and the baby had had enough. So it was an emergency caesarean, and they sent me off to the theatre. Baby came out, and that was fine. And would you believe it? It was right bang on his due date, 6th of November. Oh, it was brilliant. I couldn't believe it, right bang on his due date. He was 9 pounds 1 ounce, so like they suspected he was going to be a big baby. We named him Akio, and his surname is Langard and Kang together, so that's my surname and my husband's surname. He's now 7, and he's such a lovely boy. I mean, he's hearing, which did surprise me and my husband, because we did think he'd probably be deaf, but that's okay. His sign language and his speech are both brilliant.